Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. How many people believe food has anything to do with mental health? Okay, the minority. I hope at the end of this we have what I consider a way forward. My name is Zaihan Rashid. I'm a practicing general surgeon in the East End of Toronto. What I'm about to show you has nothing to do with surgery. This is a whole field on its own, nutrition. And it's newly being discovered, shall I say. And I'm talking in the context of mental health, obviously. For a lot of people, somehow mental health is taboo. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name? Omar was saying, I'm very happy that people finally realize it's no different than diabetes. It's not. It's not any different than heart attacks. Meaning when a person goes into severe depression, to me it's really an attack on their psyche. That's what's happened. But they're totally decent, normal human being. Just like you wouldn't class somebody who's had a heart attack as, that's it. I don't want to talk to them, I don't want to discuss this, I don't want anybody to know about it. None of that. That is to do with our mind. It has nothing to do with Islam, and it has nothing to do with the reality that this is something very real. So, one of the reasons why food and mood have become very closely associated is because the science of food and, if you like, meditation is its infancy. It's not by any means well defined, but there is enough to know that this is something that is very real and it's affecting individuals, and because it's subtle and because it's not so well recognized, the consequences are that people suffer, I believe, sometimes too unnecessarily. There's some suffering involved. The Prophet ﷺ has said in a Sahih Hadith, the true mu'min, the mu'min has only two states. Either he's having a good time and he's in a state of shukr, or he's having a hard time and he's in a state of sabr, patience. There is nothing else. But he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, this is only for a true mu'min. It's not to say that if we from time to time find ourselves not in those categories, that we're not true mu'min or mu'min, not at all. That's one of the things we have to recognize. Islam is not black and white. I think a lot of us seem to think either I am good or I am messed up. It's not true. If that was the case, the Sahaba radiallahu would have had a magical transformation the day after they were told that Islam is the truth. But they didn't. You all know that Islam was not even fully proclaimed, openly proclaimed till the Prophet ﷺ arrived in Medina, the capital of Islam. Prior to that, it was approximately 80, and there's some difference in how many Sahaba there were. But there was difference of opinion, but still there was a minority in Makkah. And yet they were Muslims. Allah Ta'ala Himself has told us, Ya ayyuhan nasu kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiban wa la tattabi'u khutuwati ash-shaytan innahu lakum aduwwun mubin, which would indicate that shaitan and bad food have something together. There's something about them that links them in this ayah. O mankind, eat from whatever is on earth that is lawful and good, and don't follow the footsteps of shaitan. You have to wonder, why would Allah Ta'ala link eating with shaitan? Think carefully. What was the first transgression that occurred? Eating. Eating the wrong thing. Yes? Adam alayhi salam. I hope I'm not giving any mysterious things to all of you. I think you know what I'm saying. So something that was done wrong was actually eating the wrong thing. So although the community knows halal very well, the tayyib part is lost on a lot of us. And many years ago, I remember when I first went to the halal thing, one of the farmers in Saskatchewan, where I used to live, he said, I'm always very interested that the Muslim community is so dedicated to killing an animal properly, but the animal is only killed for a minute, but it lived for a year prior. Why doesn't the community care about how it lived? What happened to that animal? What did it eat? What kind of Sahaba did it have? What kind of places did it visit? Did it go somewhere, or was it confined in a pen waiting till he saw? Do you think about it? If you and me are treated badly, There is a tradition in the very eastern part of the world. I believe the Fijians, I'm sorry. They, if they wanted to make a tree feel bad, don't ask me why they would do that. They would just go and shout at it. They would shout at the tree till the tree literally gave up. It's amazing if you read that tradition. I don't know what was the truth in it, but I heard Hamza Yusuf describe it more than once. So I know that there is something to be said about how things are treated. So if trees are facing the consequences of being shouted at, won't we suffer the consequences of what we're putting in our bodies? And as I said, I'm not going to make this a long talk. It's just 15 minutes. I want just to show you what evidence there is. But first of all, health is not something confined to the physical. It's definitely mental. That's what we're talking about today. It's emotional. It's obviously spiritual. That's what Ruh is. The Prophet ﷺ was asked by the Jews. These are the questions that were put across to him by the people who did not believe that the Prophet ﷺ had a true message. So they used to question him with all kinds of weird things. So Ruh is not well defined for people. So this was the question. But the spiritual side of things has a very strong impact on people. And as Brother Omar was saying earlier on, it is a stigma. If you have something that is considered to be a disease of the mind, people consider that to be there's something wrong with you. But the reality is, Allah Ta'ala told us already. Allah Ta'ala said, we will test you. And we will test you with fear, with hunger, and a loss of wealth, lives and fruit. But again, the same theme is being revised. Be patient with what Allah is giving. There is a reason. The organization at the top is what I'm going to be quoting a lot of facts from. It's not a Muslim organization, nutritionfacts.org, but it's got, in my mind, one of the richest information package of what diet is doing to people. It's written by a guy called Michael Greger. I'll show you the reference at the end. It's a book called How Not to Die, which I thought was quite an interesting way of presenting things. And here, this is the Afia formula is our formula. This is the Muslim formula. We believe that there is fitness, there's nutrition, and there's rest. All three are combined together to create what would really be a restful human being. So therefore, what to eat, how to eat are both important. It's not enough just to eat whatever, it's also remembering how to eat. One of the commonest problems we face in clinical medicine is what's called acid reflux disease, which means food going in the wrong direction, upwards as opposed to downwards. And one of the commonest reasons is because people don't use their teeth. So the stomach has no teeth, as I and mine, your mother probably told you. So then, once you have food arriving in the stomach, partly chewed or inhaled, as some of us call it, then this food will cause problems because it will now have to be going through the process of digestion beginning in the stomach, not really half done already. Half of our digestion, maybe not half, but definitely 30 to 40% is done in the mouth, would you believe? The process of digestion starts in the mouth. And that is because that chewing food mixes it with the first digestive enzyme called the saliva. So if that process is not done, a lot of things follow from there. It's like saying food got the wrong start. The Prophet ﷺ has told us in the Sahih Hadith, two of the best ni'mas, two of the best blessings that human beings have is health and free time. Imagine having all the time in the world and not being able to benefit from it because of bad health. Imagine that. Imagine somebody who has pretty much anything and everything except their health. And that's very common, unfortunately, these days. And of course, I'm using the health in the very widest sense of the word. Imagine feeling lost, helpless, hopeless, and yet having youth, and yet having all the time in the world in front of you. But the reality of it is because we have lost track of what that time should be used for, we've not taken care of our health. Sometimes now we are seeing people in their 20s who have what looks like an absolutely, definitely wonderful way of physical appearance, and yet they are scared with a spider. I'm not being personal, but I think you get the point. That we can have such phobias inbuilt in us simply by what I call propaganda. That's all that is. That tiny thing has no way of harming anybody. Unless you're lying and it's climbing into your nose. But I mean, that's not really going to happen. But this is really the strength of a phobia, of a belief that gets on top of a person to the point that the person is just paralyzed. They can't move. And yet all it is I want to use the spider. You can use many other. Darkness. The fear of something that perhaps you were scared of when you were young. Like some of our mothers, sadly, who made us think that if we were to be scared with a black dog, that somehow things would suddenly become compliant. But there's a long-term effect of behaving that way. Again, foods affecting mental state is not something unique. It's not something new. Our scholars from the past, and this particular one being Ibn Rajab, he said spiritual benefits from eating in moderation include what? Look at what's happening to the heart. The heart is humble. There is aql, the person understands. There is strength of understanding, the curbing of one's desires, lessening of personal opinions and anger. And overeating introduces all the opposite things. Imagine foods making you angry. Sometimes people find that very surprising. It's actually very real. There are foods that make you angry and there are foods that calm you down. Imagine kebabs, biryani, kormas, kheer, parathas, puris. Imagine what they do to you. Don't imagine, but I think you'll get the idea. Highly fried foods in high temperature fats with meat that is laden with hormones and antibiotics. It's not something that people often think of when they're eating that delicious hamburger, or I shouldn't say hamburger, but zinger burger, I guess. But the point stays, it doesn't change. You can call it what you like. It's still going to have the effects that it's going to have. Very briefly, what is the effect of exercise? I want to cover both of them. Have I got about 15 minutes, 20 minutes? I'm not sure. Fasil, what amount of time? Sorry, sister's running the show. Sorry. 10, okay. Just so I know how much time to spend. So, again, these are well known. You can look up in any health or club's website. They will put all of these. Reduced stress levels, increased energy levels, reduced depression, increased mood, reduced anxiety, increased self-esteem, improved sleep, increased confidence, brain power boosted, increased sense of well-being. Which one of these do you not want? Which ones of these would you not want? That's exercise. And by the way, these are not just things that have been made up into a nice Pinterest slide. They're actually well proven. Same thing. Advantages. How do we know? I'm going to show you a couple of papers very quickly. So, first of all, if you're going to do anything about physical fitness, and if you have a partner, if you're married, share it. If you don't, share it with whoever you live with. It could be a friend also. The idea is we become people who want to share things with others, because it's that bit easier, especially if you're trying to adopt a new habit. So, share your interest and be physically active and stick to your workout. You can bike for a few minutes. You can fast walk. Fast walking doesn't mean walking faster than your usual, I don't know what speeds you are, but the idea here is that your heart rate should go up to about 60% of 220 minus your age. That 60%. So it's usually for young people, it will come out to about 140 to 160, something like that. So if you don't feel like walking that fast, then walk as fast as you can. And whenever you can choose stairs, do so. These are the other advantages: bone strength, mental health, weight control, living longer. All proven. Now, so here we are. This is one of the, again, these are landmark papers, 2003, so it's not new stuff, 15 years old. Clear association between physical activity and mental disorders among adults in the US. It's about 2,000 people, but look at what happens. One half of adults reported regular physical activity, so about 60%. And they found a significantly decreased prevalence of current major depression and anxiety disorder. This was again 2013. Clear association this time between fruits and vegetable consumption and mental health disorders. And this is actually a Canadian paper. Almost 30,000 people, which showed that when people used fruits and vegetables predominantly, they actually had a lower evidence, lower criteria, as we'll see in a minute, what criteria was used to find out how did they know that there was better mental health. Well, two psychological tests were employed. One of them is called Profile of Mood States, POMS for short. That measures levels of depression, anger, hostility, fatigue, and confusion. And the other one is the DAS scale, or the Depression and Anxiety Stress Scale. And that gauges hopelessness, lack of interest, anhedonia, which is lack of pleasure, agitation, and impatience with others. People eating plant-based diets experience significantly fewer negative emotions than meat eaters. So sorry guys, if you're fond of Zinger burger, this is not good news. And this paper came out in 2010, it's not new. Again, it had almost 2,000 people. It actually showed the state of vegetarians who were clearly shown in the past to have better mental health. But this really was one of those classical, if you like, proofs of the evidence. What was the reason? Most people, or at least the predominant theory, is arachidonic acid. Now this is the same thing that is depressed or affected by things like Advil. You're trying to depress arachidonic acid levels when you're doing things like Advil, for example, or Tylenol. It's the same pathway. What that does is it reduces this inflammatory agent. And look at the top 5 sources of arachidonic acid: chicken, eggs, beef, pork, and fish. And sadly, chicken and eggs seem to contribute highly to these. Chicken also is well documented to be important for pancreatic cancer. It's actually one of the highest risk factors for people who are fond of chicken. Look at the 2 sets of pictures. That's the difference between cardiovascular disease, obesity, diabetes, and dementia from poor food choices. Really. Look at the bottom and look at the top. The pictures speak 1,000 words. Those who think they have no time for healthy eating will sooner or later have to find time for illness. That's the standard American diet right there. Processed foods, 62%. I know we can look, say, well, that's Americans. Actually, it's Canadian also. So, look at the number of unrefined plant foods, a meager 10%. Whole grains, even less. The 2 healthiest things on the planet. Bad mood epidemic in the world is related to food consumption. Malnutrition causes bad mood long before physical health deterioration. 40% of how you feel right now is related to your last meal or lack of it. Junk moods come from junk food. The book is quoted, Julia Ross, one of the nutritionists also, American. This is what happens to the brain. Look at the picture on the left of you, on the right of you I think, which is the normal brain. Look at the cocaine affected brain and then look at the person who's overweight. The area of the brain that's actually related to aggressive behavior, hyperactivity, depression, learning difficulty, fatigue, dementia, and even Alzheimer's. They're all basically being affected by people who are addicted to sugar. Because sugar acts very much like cocaine. And the common factor between there is dopamine release. Dopamine is the happiness hormone. That's another very good book. I'll show you a couple of sources, in fact 3 or 4 of them at the end. Who's fond of avocados? Minority. Healthiest vegetable that you can eat. It's got one of the best sources of fats. It's got one of the better sources of pretty much all the anti-cancer things that I am not going to give you the big names because they don't mean anything to most people. But if you want to avoid cancer, that's one very good thing to get used to. And there's enough information in some of these. These are really foods you should be thinking about. I'm not saying you eat them at dinner and lunch, but almonds, walnuts, hazelnuts, Brazil nuts, avocados, pomegranate, blueberries, broccoli, sage, sesame seeds, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds. Notice how Zinger burger is missing. So is naan. So is halwa, sadly. All of that is missing. So first of all, familiarize yourself with the idea. You know, when we feel sorry for ourselves, one of the big reasons I believe is because we are sadly not really well versed with what is going on in the world. We think of pills, or we think of therapy, and we think of sadness when it comes to somebody who's having a hard time in life. But we never think of food. We don't think of exercise. We don't think of all the things Allah Ta'ala has given us. Allah Ta'ala has not created us in a state where we are always desperate. Allah Ta'ala has given us answers. Allah Ta'ala has given us opportunities. I believe we have in this day and age, for you youngsters, you have the richness of knowledge that when I was in my 20s, I didn't have. Now you can put Sheikh Google and Mufti Yahoo and search what you like. And yet what's the result? We are more ignorant than we used to be, unfortunately. We have so much that we don't know what to do with it. So we don't therefore know really how to use the benefits of good food. Food's available in plenty. And cheap, by the way, because this is the other argument I get from people. Uncle, I can't afford it. So when did you look at this last? The average takeout meal costs you between $15 and $20. You could eat for 2 to 3 days healthy food for that amount of money. So it's not about money at all. It might be about ignorance and money, but it's not just about money. So processed and packaged foods, carbonated drinks, I believe these are simply recipes for disaster. They might give you that short-term high, but they don't create the long-term nutritional environment that you want created in your body. And this is really some of the commonest things that we see in clinical practice, and as I said, it's not my expertise. This is just really what texts are quoting. Serotonin is one of the reasons why people become depressed. Low serotonin, epinephrine levels or low thyroid hormones produce low energy, and again, lowering gamma aminobutyric acid or GABA, cortisol produce stress issues, and endorphins, which is the happy hormone, also produces that mood sensitivity. And really that's it, right there. Fresh food. Less soda, more water, less alcohol. Alhamdulillah, Muslims, that's not a problem. More tea, green tea preferably. Less sugar, more fruits, less meat, more vegetable, less driving, more walking, less worry, more sleep, less anger, more laughter, less words, more action. Easy said, I know, but it's a try. Avocado is also a big antidepressant, big one. Saffron, even smelling it, if you can't afford it, this is a study that showed that smelling saffron, zafran in Urdu or Arabic, actually it produces a happy mood. These are some of the resources. You are what you eat. This is a very famous book by Gillian McKeith, who's a Scottish scientist, now lives in the US. Guide for fasting, intermittent fasting now, believe you me, it's become one of the biggest forms of how you can control pretty much every disease known to man. There is a Toronto cardiologist who promotes fasting twice a week. I don't know if he says Mondays and Thursdays, but he says twice. Go figure, that's what I say. And it's not fasting the way Muslims would fast, but it's fasting. It's basically saying rest your gut. That's really what it is. Stop putting junk in your food 24/7. Grazing has become one of the commonest maladies of our time, unfortunately, where people just think, I have to fill my stomach, I have to taste something that's good, I have to eat refined sugar, I have to eat high-fat foods. I just have to feel good without any consideration that that food will make you depressed a couple of hours later. So healthiest foods on earth, this is again, I highly recommend if you have time, if you have $15 to spare, I would spend a little bit of money. But notice the bottom right book, How Not to Die. This is where Michael Greger, I believe, has given us some of the best tips there are, where he discusses literally every disease known to man. Common diseases, obviously. The good thing, well, I don't know the good thing or not, but one of the key things about this book, Omar, is that 1/3 of the book is references. There are very few books that have appendices and bibliographies like that, but this book, 1/3 of it, and I have it if anybody's interested in seeing it, it's well worthwhile. There's also some web resources, as I mentioned earlier on. Productive Muslim Academy, surprise, surprise, Muslims are up on this scene also. It's not a surprise to us that this is the problem. Productive Muslim Academy actually addresses food like it addresses bad mood. They believe food and mood are very closely related. Food is the most abused anxiety drug and exercise is the most underutilized antidepressant. Thank you very much. Questions? Or shall we do questions at the end?